Have you ever wondered why you make certain decisions, or why your gut feelings sometimes lead you astray? What if I told you that understanding the way you think could unlock a whole new level of decision-making and problem-solving in your life? Today, we're diving into the brilliant mind of Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist, and his groundbreaking book, Thinking Fast and Slow. This book isn't just about how we think, it's about understanding the very fabric of how we make judgments and our decision-making processes. So if you're ready to unlock the secrets of your mind and learn how to make better choices in life, grab your favourite snack and let's get started. The two systems that govern our thinking. Kahneman introduces two distinct systems that drive our thinking. Understanding these systems is crucial because they shape our judgments and decisions every day. Let's start with System 1, fast thinking. This is our brain on autopilot. It is fast, instinctive, and often emotional. When you see a friend across the street and instantly wave at them without thinking, that's System 1 at work. It helps you to make quick judgments based on intuition. While System 1 is incredibly efficient for everyday decisions, it can also lead us to make errors due to its reliance on heuristics, which are mental shortcuts that simplify decision-making. Now let's talk about System 2, slow thinking. This is where the heavy lifting happens. This system is slow, deliberate, and analytical. It requires effortful mental activities like reasoning and problem solving. When you're solving a complex math problem or planning your future, you're engaging System 2. Think about planning a big trip. You wouldn't just book flights without checking prices or researching destinations. You'd weigh your options carefully. That's System 2 in action. But here's the catch. System 2 requires effort and energy, which is why the brain often defaults to System 1. However, System 1 is prone to errors and biases, which can lead to irrational decisions that cause regret. Now that we understand the two systems, let's explore the types of cognitive biases mentioned in the book. We can be blind to the obvious, and we are also blind to our blindness. This quote by Daniel Kahneman highlights the limitations of human perception and self-awareness. Cognitive biases are like traps in our mind, which leads to systematic errors in our thinking that ultimately affect our judgments and decisions. Here are 12 cognitive biases stated in the book. Number 1, the anchoring bias. This is the tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we encounter when making decisions. Imagine you're shopping for a new TV. The first one you see is priced at $2,000. Later, you find another TV for $1,200. Suddenly that second TV seems like a fantastic deal, even though it's still expensive. The initial $2,000 price tag anchored your perception of value. Next time you are faced with a choice, take a moment to consider whether your judgment is being influenced by an anchor. Number 2, availability bias. This leads us to overestimate the likelihood of events based on how easily we can recall similar instances. For instance, if you recently heard about a plane crash in the news, you might overestimate the risk of flying, even though statistically, air travel is much safer than driving. This is because it is a recent event that is readily available in your memory. Next time you find yourself making a judgment based on recent events or vivid memories, take a moment to consider whether you're falling into this trap. Number 3, confirmation bias. We tend to seek out and remember information that confirms our existing beliefs, while ignoring contradictory evidence. For instance, if someone believes that a particular diet works wonders, they will likely focus on the success stories while dismissing any negative reviews. As such, they're exposed only to information that reinforces their beliefs, making it harder to consider alternative perspectives. To overcome confirmation bias, start by asking yourself why you hold certain beliefs. What evidence supports them? What evidence contradicts them? By critically examining your assumptions, you can better understand whether they are based on facts or biases. Number 4, the framing effect. This is where our decisions are swayed by how information is presented, rather than the actual content of the information. Consider a medical scenario. If a doctor tells you that a surgery has a 90% survival rate, you're likely to feel optimistic about it. However, If they say there's a 10% chance of mortality, suddenly it feels much riskier, even though both statements convey the same information. This illustrates how framing can drastically alter our perceptions and decisions. Next time you're faced with a choice, ask yourself, how is this information framed? Number 5, the halo effect. This bias describes how we tend to let one positive trait or impression influence our overall judgment about a person or a situation. Consider a job interview scenario. If an interviewer is impressed by a candidate's confident demeanour, they might also assume that the candidate is highly competent and skilled, even without concrete evidence of their abilities. This initial positive impression can lead to biased evaluations of the candidate's qualifications. Number 6, the illusion of validity. This bias occurs when we overestimate our ability to predict outcomes based on small samples or limited information. For instance, investors often believe they can predict stock performance based on recent trends or news, even when historical data shows that such predictions are often inaccurate and influenced by random market fluctuations. To make better informed decisions, question your confidence in predictions and seek diverse perspectives. Number 7, loss aversion. Kahneman highlights that the pain of losing weighs psychologically heavier than the pleasure of gaining. This suggests that people are more motivated to avoid losses than to pursue gains. Imagine if you were given a choice to take $100 for sure or to gamble with a 50% chance to win $250. Which option would you choose? A study showed that most people would choose the guaranteed $100, even though the expected value of the gamble is higher. Next time you're faced with a choice, remember to weigh the potential gains alongside possible losses to make more balanced decisions. Number 8, the overconfidence bias. We are prone to overestimate how much we understand about the world and to underestimate the role of chance in events. This cognitive bias leads us to overestimate our own abilities, knowledge, and predictions, often leading to excessive risk-taking and poor decision-making. In a situation where someone believes they are an above-average driver, they might confidently use their phone while driving, thinking they can handle it, despite statistics showing that distracted driving significantly increases the risk of accidents. This overconfidence in their driving ability can lead to dangerous situations. Recognizing the overconfidence bias can help us approach our decisions more cautiously and seek feedback from others. Number 9, the planning fallacy. This cognitive bias explains why we often underestimate the time, costs, and risks involved in a project while overestimating the benefits. Despite our past experiences indicating otherwise, we tend to estimate based on ideal scenarios. Think about when you invited your friends over for dinner, thinking that you will have everything ready in 2 hours. Once you start trying to get everything organised, to clean your house and make the meal, you realise that you underestimated how long it would actually take. Before you know it, you are frantically scrambling as guests arrive. Next time you're setting deadlines or planning projects, take a moment to reflect on past experiences and consider how long things really took. Number 10, the priming effect. This is a psychological phenomenon that shows how subtle cues in our environment can shape our thoughts and behaviours without us even realising. Let's consider a simple, everyday example. Imagine you stumbled upon a short, heartwarming video filled with stories of kindness and generosity. Later that day, when you see someone struggling to carry their groceries, you might feel an urge to offer your help. Now, if instead you had just watched a news segment about crime and scams, when you see the same person struggling, you might hesitate or even walk by feeling wary or indifferent. In both cases, your recent experiences, whether positive or negative, primed your behaviour in that moment. It shows how our thoughts and actions can be subtly influenced by what we've encountered just before. This effect of priming reminds us that our minds are constantly being influenced by the world around us. Number 11, regression to the mean. This is the idea that if an outcome is extreme on one occasion, in subsequent occasions, the outcome will likely return to the average level over time. Here's an example from the business world. Suppose you run a department store in 1 month, Sales skyrocket due to a big sale or holiday season. The following month, sales drop back down and return to normal levels. This isn't necessarily a failure of your strategy. It's simply regression to the mean at play. Understanding regression to the mean helps us avoid misinterpreting data and making poor judgments based on extreme outcomes. Number 12. The sunk cost fallacy. This is the tendency to continue an endeavour once an investment in money, effort or time has been made, even if the future cost outweighs the benefits. We often feel compelled to stick with a choice because we don't want our previous investments to go to waste. Imagine you're watching a boring movie that you paid for. Even though you're not enjoying it, you might think, I've already spent money on this ticket. I should stick it out. This is the sunk cost fallacy at work. You're letting your past investment dictate your current enjoyment instead of just leaving to find something better. Next time you find yourself justifying a choice based on past investments, remember, it's okay to cut your losses and move on. The two selves. One of Kahneman's most profound insights is his distinction between the experiencing self and the remembering self. According to Kahneman, these are the two distinct aspects of our consciousness that shape how we perceive life. The experiencing self lives its life, while the remembering self keeps score. The experiencing self is our present moment self. It lives in the moment, feeling emotions and processing sensations as they happen. In contrast, the remembering self retains memories and reflects on those experiences later. It is responsible for how we reflect on past experiences, creating our memories and narratives about our lives. The remembering self evaluates experiences based on key moments rather than the entire journey. This means that our memories don't often accurately reflect our experiences. Instead, the happiness of an experience is determined by its peak and its end. Kahneman explains that these two selves often do not align. The remembering self tends to dominate our decision-making. For instance, if you had a fantastic vacation but encountered a negative experience at the end, like having a bad flight experience, your remembering self might focus on that negative end experience, overshadowing all the joyful moments. This distortion can lead to reluctance about future travel. Don't forget that by recognizing when to engage each system and being aware of our cognitive biases, we can make more informed and rational decisions in our personal and professional lives. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more enlightening content. Remember, understanding your mind is the first step towards mastering it. Until next time, keep questioning and keep learning.